Unencumbered by political correctness, undeterred in her mission to spread the truth, unafraid to be a true conservative, she's unapologetic, uncompromising, unwavering, and an undeniably powerful voice when we need it most. This is Rose Unplugged.
Welcome to this episode of Rose Unplugged. Before I get started, I just want to remind everyone that my sponsors are very important to me and they help make these episodes possible. And so I do ask that you would support them. If you need pillows or anything bed related, actually, if you go to mypillow.com, they have more than that. I have a dog bed from them, slippers. We are at that time of year where slippers are so important. So they are the coziest things. It's like somebody's like just hugging your feet. Not that anybody would really want to, but that's how cozy and comfortable they feel. MyPillow.com, promo code ROSE. You get great savings, sometimes free shipping, depends on the day. Promo code ROSE, MyPillow.com, promo code ROSE. Also, I have a new sponsor, and that is Patriot Mobile. And I love them because they believe in America and our Constitution. They're the only Christian conservative wireless phone provider. And they fight for the sanctity of life, religious freedom, Second Amendment. So you can get the same nationwide coverage as the major providers because Patriot Mobile isn't limited to just one network. They have all three. Go to patriotmobile.com/rose. patriotmobile.com/rose. Or call 972-PATRIOT. Promo code ROSE. You get a free month of service today. They also have great deals for first responders and veterans, so ask them about that. We're so excited to have someone live from Israel. He is Captain Kuno Cohen. He's the author of October 7th, The War Against Hamas, Through the Eyes of Israeli Commando Officer. In his book, he provides a shocking, detailed account of present-day war. His book is not just his story, but the story of an entire nation. And for those of us who watch these things unfold, Captain Cohen, how are you today? And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a great privilege to participate in your program.
You know, I am so glad that you wrote it as someone who experienced it, who was there in Israel and who experienced what happened that day, October 7th, but also the aftermath of that. Can you tell us just a little bit about why you felt compelled? I mean, you're a pretty busy guy as a captain and a commando officer. Tell us how you were so compelled to take the time to write this book.
Yeah, so I want to share for the listeners, I'm not just a captain. I'm an ordinary guy, a personal trainer, a business owner, newlywed, an expecting father. And that day, I was called for his duty. But I wasn't on active duty, and I realized that I had to go and fight for my country. Before that we're talking about it, I want to let everyone understand that me and my friends or everyone that I know, we didn't want this from the first place. But we realized that we have to fight for our people, to fight for our brother and sister, that while we're talking, still in captivity for over than 300 days. It's almost a year, soon it's going to be a year.
That's the shocking part, I think. It's almost been a year and there are still some in captivity. That's just appalling. It really is.
Yeah, we heard those stories from our history. I couldn't believe that something like that actually happened to us that day. And, you know, I was, because that day, unfortunately, we lost over 1,200 people were murdered that day. Some of them just went into a festival music. Some of them are celebrating a holiday with their family. But I lost that day almost 10 friends that I know specifically. It was from my friends that I knew from the army, my friends that I knew from, like, they used to live next to me. And I couldn't believe when I heard the news. The beginning, I thought it was a nightmare. But let me share something that maybe will be more shocking than that. On October 7th, it was a holiday, as I just mentioned. And I stayed in my father-in-law, in my parents-in-law, and we slept in their bomb shelter. This was the only room. And here's how almost every house has a bomb shelter. And 30 in the morning, my wife woke me up. She was terrified, and she told me that she had a nightmare. And in her nightmare, she told me that hundreds of terrorists were chasing us, and I couldn't use my gun in order to defend herself. I hugged her back, and I told her, Shiran, don't worry. Nothing will be, just don't worry. Everything will be fine. An hour later, I was awakened by the Iron Dome system, who were activated by the missiles shooting from Gaza. So it is a nightmare, and I think that the IDF failed by protecting our people, and what we're doing right now is to making sure that nothing like that will ever happen again. We're doing that with Hamas, and we do that with Hezbollah and Iran and all the enemies that surrounding us.
Why do you think the IDF failed the people? Is it because they had become complacent, perhaps, because it has been so long since there's been any real conflict? I mean, there's conflict almost every day. That's why you have bomb shelters there. I've been to Israel twice. I love your country so much. But in my friend's home, she showed me where they go if there's a threat. So I know that everyone has a place in their home, or even if it's just an apartment. But why do you feel the IDF failed you so significantly?
Yeah, I think, I'm an observed Jew, and as a religious guy, I only can target it towards, I think God. Like I said, I'm telling you, the IDF is aware for everything. We just saw how wonderful thing that the IDF could have doing right now and done in the past. And I think that day our nation was blind because some of the people told the government, look, something like that gonna happen, and that day that thing happened. So of course there are people that need to be brought to justice because they were, they was in charge of what's happening there. But I'm just putting them aside 1 second because every time when I'm talking about that, I'm always say that Hamas is the one who did this terrible action, and we need to make sure that they're brought into justice, and every terrorist who supports the Israel elimination and the killing of those innocent people should be dead. But I think that day we were just blind, and as a religious guy, I'm saying sometimes it's God that just didn't let us see that what actually was going on over there.
Well, I'm very religious too. As a Christian, we have always been taught to support Israel, pray for the peace of Israel, and I do believe that God is in control. And it's interesting to watch what's happening. Your holy book and mine both tell us to watch for these kind of things. And we know that God is in control. When you brought up IDF soldiers, in your book you talked about how one of the prisoners that the IDF captured told that IDF soldier about the millions of shekels that was hidden in his house. What was that all about?
Yeah, so I think it was an amazing experience, and I'll tell you why. Because it says so much about how the Palestinians seeing the IDF. One of the time when we were fighting in Gaza, we found a group of terrorists, and we were needed to take them into an interrogation in Israel. And a couple of minutes before we told them to go on our trucks with the guard to be interrogated, one of them approached one of my friends and told him, "Can I say something to you?" And he says, "Of course, yeah. What do you want to tell me?" And he told him in Hebrew, "Look, I'm hiding in my house millions of shekel and $130,000 US dollar in my house." And my friend asked him again, "Why you tell me that? Why do you share this information? Are you want to lead me into a booby trap?" And this guy come and tell my friend, "No, the reason why I'm telling you that is because by the second that I won't be here, all the other civilians and the terrorists that live next to me will steal everything from me. But I know one thing, I can trust the IDF. Because if I'll give that to you and you will find me non-guilty, I know that you'll bring all the money to me. You'll bring it back." And indeed, a week later, he was brought back to Gaza with all of his money inside 2 bags. I think it can teach a lot about how are we acting and how Hamas acting through this war. And let me share another story, because I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. One of the time, we got an intelligence of a school that was full with infrastructure used for terror. But we also knew that that school was full with civilians. So as we always do, we start calling them all out, but no one left the area. So we used a drone in order to scan the area from above to realize why they're not leaving the school. And then we saw that there was Hamas guards inside the school that didn't let those civilians to leave the area. And one of the kids there, I think it was 5 years old, tried to run away. And the Hamas guard shot him in his head and killed him in front of his mom.
Oh, my God.
That time, we realized that we have to kill those guards in order to let those civilians leave the school, but also to be able to conquer that school, because as I told you, it was full with infrastructure used for terror, which, by the way, Hamas using those places, mosques, hospitals, schools, everyone know that already, but it's important for me that people will understand that they're using that for terror sites and for terror infrastructure. And one of the Hamas guard went on the rooftop, and he was holding the best shield that he could ever get. He was holding a baby just in front of us.
Oh.
He knew exactly where we were, and he held the baby in front of us on top of the rooftop. And behind them was a guy that was holding a camera and was waiting for us to take that shot. And we didn't take that shot, not because we were afraid from that camera guy, but because we have different moral code, and we don't put any civilians in between our fight and in this war. Even though, that I put that time, we put our life on the line. I rescued my fellow friends that time, and we knew that they know exactly where we were staying. They could aim any ammunition, missile, rifle that they have towards us, and yet we didn't do that shot. A couple of moments later, he went on the rooftop again. He was surrounded by a group of women. One of them banged a little bit. It was enough for our sniper to take the shot and to eliminate that threat, to make sure that this Hamas guard being killed. And that time, we were able to rescue all the other civilians that were inside the school. And I'm sharing that because I want people to understand how difficult situation that we are dealing with through this time, through this war. We are being forced to choose between our life or the civilian's life. I'm telling you, we're doing as much as we can in order to avoid any casualties.
I would just like to say I'm glad that you shared that, because when we see the protests all around the world, but particularly here in my own country, they really don't understand. They have no concept of what's really going on and how humane you always strive to be in Israel as you fight this war, a war that was thrown upon you that you hadn't asked for. And so I'm glad that you made that clear.
But it's good that you mentioned the protest against us. I think they're just or hypocrites or don't know what's going on, or they just hate us.
They just hate you. Yeah,
we are doing as much as we can. Yeah, because we're doing as much as we can. And I see all the groups, Gays for Gaza and all stuff like all those groups. I want to see what happened to gays in Gaza. I'm telling you, they're going to hang up from the rooftop. They will kill them themselves. And then I say all those people who protest against the IDF, if they are actually care about the Palestinians, we should support the IDF, because we're doing as much as we can. Hamas don't care about his own people. They're using them as human shield.
Right.
They executing them when they want. So if they truly care about Palestinians, believe me, they should support the IDF. I think we all understand that support means a lot. And when we see that some of the people are protest against us, it's heartbreaking, because we know how much we're doing, and we do need this support in order to win this war, because this is not just war against Hamas. Sometimes we say war against Hamas, but this is not actually the war against Hamas. This is the war between good and evil, between the right to live and against people who want just to kill as many people from Israel. And it's not just Israel. We heard them yelling death to Israel as long as they shouting death to America. Those people want the elimination of the entire Western world. And this is our fight. And we hope to see that the world support us, because Israel it is just a step on the way. You see, if you'll go to Iran, you see that they supporting Hezbollah, they supporting the Houthis, they supporting Hamas, and their main agenda will be to wipe out the state of Israel, as long side by side to wipe out the state, the American state. Unfortunately, some of the people have the guts to criticizing us because we are fighting for our brother and sister, and this war could be ended by seconds if Hamas will recognize the existence of the state of Israel and bring back 101 hostages that still hold in captivity in their dungeon of Hamas. This is not about us. This is about them. And everyone who protests against us, it just, for me, it makes no sense. It's just pure hatred against the Jewish state, against the Israel state. And another thing that I want to say, I fight side by side with Muslims, Christians. I have Christian in my team. I have Muslims, and this is just one example for how the IDF is a for coexistence.
But you mentioned the one state, to recognize Israel as a state. When you hear people talk about two-state solutions, you know, Hamas and their allies, they don't want two states. They don't want Israel to exist. Bottom line.
Yeah, let me tell you that I rather to have a boring life, to be able to raise my future baby with my wife, to not shut down my business, because this is what I did on October 7th. I rather to have a boring life, but unfortunately, that day, Hamas showed us his intention to wipe out the state of Israel. I can't believe the two-state solution is an option, because they showed us their attention, and people forgetting that. But by Hamas was elected with democracy. By democracy, he was chosen from the people. The people in Gaza chose Hamas.
Yeah, they
and
did.
they're still supporting Hamas.
Yeah.
The two-state solution are not an option for me, because I'm not. For me, it's not a. I can imagine a state that lives right next to my border who want to kill me, my brother, my wife, my people here. No, it's not an option. And I think this is. It's not a lot to request, you know. I just want to live a normal life without no one killing me on the street.
We're talking to Captain Kuno Cohen, and he's the author of October 7th, The War Against Hamas Through the Eyes of an Israeli Commando Officer. You know, there's some really interesting things in there, and I bring it up because even though it's difficult to talk about, it's so important for people to understand. For example, there was stuff on the GoPro cameras that are just horrific, on the Hamas terrorist GoPro cameras. Can you share just a little bit of that with our audience?
Yes, of course. So one of the time we found a GoPro that belongs to Hamas. And right now people said that what happened on October 7th didn't happen. Well, this is just a lie. And Hamas that day, they was proud about that. They upload their video themselves to Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and etc. in every channel that they could. So of course we also still saw terrible videos of them butchering people, but we also saw videos of their underground city, which trucks were driving underground in terror tunnels. And it always make me, every time when I see that, when I remember that, and when I was in the Gaza Strip and we saw how many terror tunnels they had, just made me think about what an amazing place they could have had if they didn't put and invest every money that they have in order to build terror infrastructure. Israel just had, the Jewish nation had been through a Holocaust 70 years ago, and we were able to build an amazing state. We could have had any excuses to make sure and tell the other, to tell the world, look, we can build a state because we've been through a Holocaust, and to have all the excuses. And yet we build an amazing state with one of the best high-tech companies, with lovely resorts. And when you come into Gaza, they have lovely beaches. I'm telling you that I saw that they had one of the nicest beaches that I saw. But unfortunately, they decided to put and invest every money that they had in order to build infrastructure used for terror, to build terror tunnels, instead of educating their kids for the greater good. They decided to invest everything that they can for terror. And unfortunately, we also saw in this GoPro, we saw the video of their huge tunnel they're using for terror.
Well, you make a really compelling point, what they could have done for their country, for the people of their area, how they could have lived so much more productive lives and probably richer lives if they hadn't spent all their time, energy, and resources on those tunnels and everything else that they've been preparing to commit terrorism, frankly.
I'll tell you what. The Jewish nation and the state of Israel, we have great hope. And we know that at the end, everything will be fine and will be good, not just fine. Everything will be great. But right now, we're dealing with a great threat, and we know that we need to fight. But I don't know if this is how if this term goes in America, the TikTok generation. But here in Israel, people they talk a lot about the young people as the TikTok generation. They couldn't trust that generation because they knew that generation only deal with social network. They always have excuses for everything. And I think on October 7, we realized that generation here in Israel have a great sense of mission, and they will do everything to protect our country. It's amazing to see. I'm telling you, during that war, unfortunately, I lost 26 friends. It's a number that I can't even, I think while we're talking right now, I can't even imagining, and I'm not actually catching the number because we're still inside that. But unfortunately, I lost 26 friends. All of them was great people that was here to protect their people, to protect their country. Some of them was just brutally murdered when they were dancing in a festival of music, and the rest of them was killed during combat to protecting their fellow friends. I think that we saw that the young generation here in Israel have a great spirit, and they will make sure that nothing like that will ever happen again. We might be going through a hard time right now, but I'm telling you, I see my friends, I'm talking to my friends, and I have a great hope.
I'm so sorry for your loss and for the nation's loss. I really am.
Life can go past by seconds within the blink of an eye, and sometimes you don't even will understand what happened, and you find yourself in the middle of a terror attack. But it also showed me what a great people we have here, and that I'm truly believe that at the end everything will be great.
Let me just ask you a few things about what's going on today. All right. We know that this was brilliant in my mind, and I suspect that you were referring to this way back in the beginning of the interview, and I wanted to jump on this. You were talking about the IDF and how now they're really starting to get things right. Maybe they should have done it a little sooner. And I'm talking specifically about how they blew up last week Hezbollah radios and pagers. And of course, I don't think anybody's taken credit for it yet, but we can pretty much assume Hezbollah has credited Israel with it, and I think the rest of us do as well. Isn't that this is a different kind of war now, isn't it? This is something new. It's a new kind of war.
Yeah, I think it's new kind of war, but with the same people.
Well, yes.
It's the same people who cheering death over life. And we just need to make sure that nothing like that will ever happen. And it's just repeatedly over and over again. Hezbollah are against Israel no matter what. And while, they have a very easy solution to this fight. While they will put down their weapons, we will end this war by second. Unfortunately, they claiming over and over again that they want to wipe out the state of Israel, that they want to kill as many people in Israel as they can. And while we were talking, there were sirens all over Israel because Hezbollah were shooting rockets and missiles towards Israel. We're doing as much as we can in order to avoid any casualties, but we will do everything in order to make sure that those terror groups are being killed. And as you said before, the pagers attack, no one claimed, and I don't know if it was us or not, but I think that it can show us that everyone who got injured with these attacks was directly connected to Hezbollah,
Right.
because there were only the people from Hezbollah had those radios and those pagers.
Yes.
And more than that, it was we saw that one of the Iranian representative in Lebanon was got hurt as well, and it just showed the deep connection between Iran, Hezbollah,
Wow.
and again,
That's a good
Iran
point.
is the head of the octopus. Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, they're just their deliveries, and we need to make sure that no one of them are successful to do what they want to do.
Real quick, too, before we go, fears of a wider war because of what's happening. Airstrikes, I know you guys are hitting multiple targets in Lebanon. People are talking about a wider war right now. Are you concerned about that?
I think that we are already in war.
Yeah, good
Look,
answer.
I don't want to fight. I told you that before. I'd rather to have a boring life. But as long as those people want to kill me and holding all of those weapons, we can't have that. And of course, we need to fight them. People think that if we will avoid it, it will disappear. If we will avoid the situation right now, it will just increase and will be exposure to a higher risk. So as sooner as we're going to take care of that, the easier it will be. Mm-hmm. And I hope the entire world will understand that, because they're not changing their perspective, and we just need to make sure that we're not letting them to kill us.
Well, we wish you the very best. Our prayers are definitely with you. Captain Kuno Cohen, he's the author of October 7, The War Against Hamas Through the Eyes of an Israeli Commando Officer. God bless you.
Thank you very much. I also want to say to your listeners, if someone have questions, they can talk to me through my Instagram account. It is Elkana _Kuno, which is ELKANA_KUNO, or through my website, which is Elkana-Cohen.com. It is ELKANA-COHEN.com. And I would like to answer any question that they have. I'm also coming to the U.S. for a speaking tour to share what we experience soon. Next week I'm flying to New York, and I hope to meet as many people as I can and to share our story, because for me it's important that the world will understand what we're going through.
Well, thank you very much for that information, and I will pass that on to our listeners. It will be in the comments section. Thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you.
It's Emily Green here, State Director with Americans for Prosperity Pennsylvania, our Commonwealth's largest citizen watchdog organization. 57% of polled voters believe that the most important issue Congress can address today is border security. This seems like a common sense priority, but the Biden-Harris administration is doing nothing to stop the deadly flow of fentanyl over our southern border. To make matters worse, our own Senator Bob Casey has done nothing to represent our concerns about the border. What has this inaction led to? 8 million illegal crossings since the Biden and Harris administration took office. This is a record, and it's time for Congress to act. We can't let this crisis get worse. It's time we send a loud message to Senator Bob Casey. Fix the border once and for all. Head to securebordersecureamerica.com today to tell our senator, protect families and preserve public safety instead of playing partisan games. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.